This is Sarah with Parents Against Loss. I'm going to throw up a really quick late night video, and I'm going to show you a tool that might help you with your family court case if you have a court case in North Carolina and it's with Department of Social Services. So been meaning to put one of these together for a while, just haven't been able to have the time. I have a good reason to. So for this little project, you're going to want to get some sort of tab system. You're going to want some cover sheet thingies that go in a binder. And you're going to want a binder. You can even personalize it. In fact, it's probably going to be your best friend for a while, so I would suggest personalizing it. Normally I put pictures of my kids on my binder so I can remember what I'm doing and keep my focus. So here's a child and family team meeting binder. Now, if you know what a child and family team meeting is, just, skip the next minute or so. But I'm going to take a little bit of time out to teach you, if you're not aware what one is, because maybe this is your first run-in with Child Protective Services. In our state, in North Carolina, we have child planning conferences in some counties. Some counties literally have a local rule in DSS court, depends on what county you're in, that you have to meet before your child is seized and do a little bit of planning before a non-secure custody hearing. Guilford County does not have child planning conferences. It kind of kills your reasonable efforts and constitutional rights. But if you manage to get a child planning conference in, learn about that. These are going to be different. CFTs are going to be different. It's a child and family team meeting. I want you to look those up in Department of Social Services, Policies and Procedures. You can find them online. That's kind of what we're going by. Now, you may come across a department in our county that says, well, that's North Carolina Department of Policies and Procedures. But case law and statutes say that the local Department of Social Services is beholden to the state Department of Social Services. It's called a principal-agent relationship is what it refers to. So don't let them fool you in that. There's an actual policy and procedure in handling your family through an abuse, neglect, and dependency case. And to protect your rights and your children's rights as the parent, you need to learn about them and understand what is expected of you as a parent, what rights you have as a parent in a CFT, how to protect your children's rights, and how to protect your children's best interests, because you'll hear that tossed around a lot. The government wants to be the one who says they're the ones who get to decide your child's best interest. Guardian ad litem programs, volunteers, they're all going to want to say, hey, we know how to do it. But really, if you love your children, if you really sacrifice for your family, you're going to know your kids best. So I'm pretty sure like a bazillion of you are out there running to get your supplies right now, right? Just be encouraged, because these can be long roads. They can be years worth of fighting, and you just got to be prepared for the long run. So back to CFT meetings. A child and family team meeting is an opportunity for basically the government to get to know your child's needs, your family's needs, your needs, that sort of thing. Department of Social Services Policies and Procedures says that if you do not get to participate as a parent, and I don't mean you just sit there and they talk at you. If you don't get to participate in a CFT meeting, it is not a CFT meeting. It means that the social worker is not doing their job because they're not including you in the plan, in the making of the plan. Because some of the goals of a CFT meeting are to discuss the child's educational needs, educational records, health needs, health records. Sometimes social workers will ask you to sign records release forms and confidentiality forms. They will discuss placement, or are supposed to. So perhaps they put your child in secure or non-secure custody, which means secure is in a medical facility. Often we have medical kidnap children who are medically kidnapped by the government, and they'll be placed in secure facilities or hospitals. That means pretty much not foster care, not with an aunt or uncle, that sort of thing. But they'll talk about placement, or they're supposed to talk about placement at a CFT. So they're supposed to inform you. There's a lot of interaction with children in CFT meetings. If there isn't domestic violence or some very hardcore reason for a child not to be there, then the children are supposed to actually be at the CFT meetings. For ages 14 and up, there are especially things called like the Transitional Living Plan, or APLA. It's a program, or opportunities for the children to be involved. CFTs are also an opportunity for extended family and friends to be involved, because that's generally when, and they're not supposed to, but that's generally when social services may ask about relatives or friends that the children can stay with. Now, they should have done that before seizure, but that's a should have. So that would be an opportunity for you to come up with a list of friends and family that are willing to take your child while this is going on for a temporary situation, which doesn't ever end up being temporary. And you get that to the social worker, because if you don't, I'm going to tell you what happens. If you don't, then as time proceeds in family court, the truth comes out about the department's design for your child's permanent living plan. I'm just going to put that gently, but the truth is, if you don't have that list and you keep on the department for things like interstate compact laws or placement with friends or family, placements together with siblings, then what happens is that your children get divided really easily, and they head towards foster care, they head towards adoption, they head towards foster care families that are licensed already to adopt. It's harder to get your kids back if you're not pressing them to be with family. So if you have family, that's a very fortunate thing, but you need to press for that. So back to the CFT. So placement might be talked about: health, education, your needs, the child's needs. Now, there is a lot of talking, but I'm going to tell you that there are also assessments. The North Carolina Department of Social Services has issued several assessments in their policies and procedures, and they're to be used to protect the constitutional rights of parents and children. These assessments are various. They're various things. They're strengths and needs of the family. They assess risk. They assess safety. They assess, reunification, if it's time to reunify, how visitations are going. So when you go into a CFT, it might be a little bit overwhelming. You might be angry. You might still be emotional from having your children taken from you. And this is a phase where the social workers have to be very careful not to create an adversarial relationship, because that just doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help you, doesn't help your kids, doesn't help the social worker. And a lot of them, I'm going to be honest about it, a lot of them do not understand that a lot of us have our children taken with no petition, no warrant, which is called unconstitutional seizure. That there's a rate out there, a very high rate of children that are taken with reports being unsubstantiated. They can't find any proof of wrongdoing of us, and so we're angry that the system has even caught us up in the system, let alone, the majority of us don't have history with CPS before. So they don't understand that, but as a mother with my own personal case, I know that there's got to be a certain accountability in that area, But I want to tell you that if you've got your binder, you've got your tabs, you've got your cover page sheets, what you're going to do is start putting together something that helps you in a child and family team meeting, because you're going to have a few of them. You can feel free to request them from your social worker when some big change happens in your life where you feel like maybe, maybe you are homeless, and homelessness is no reason to actually seize children from a parent, but maybe you're homeless and you suddenly got, a home, and that's a big life change. So you would want to plan a CFT meeting to say, hey, maybe these things can be addressed and my children can have a date to come home by or something. Generally, you want to have, when you come out of a CFT meeting, a date where your children are coming home. If you don't set one, you're agreeing to them not coming home yet. Be hard about that. Now, as far as people that can come to your CFT meeting, you can have parental rights advocates come forward, to support you, to be there to help. You really don't want parental rights advocates running the show because they're there to assist you. It's you who are supposed to run the show as a parent. So make sure you're careful about who you choose to come in there, because it can be very confusing, and the more hands that are in the pot are not good. So get an experienced advocate if you do have one. Secondly, you can have close friends, family, your parents that come in there, the children, of course. Maybe you have a school teacher that just absolutely adores your son and is really close to, your family or something, and you want the school teacher to come. Well, invite the school teacher. Usually social workers and your lawyer, if you have a court-appointed lawyer, are not going to tell you that you can have this wonderful setup of community support right off the bat, and you start getting isolated, and you don't want to be isolated. So make sure to invite some family and friends, but also be prepared to see that the people that you invite should also have input too, because this is for the interest of the children and not necessarily the parent. So while you run the meeting, it is still in the best interest of the children. Okay, so you have your supplies. I talked long enough, like 12 minutes. You should have your supplies by now. We're going to make a binder, so I'm going to turn the camera around. If I can. Can I turn it around? Maybe not. No. Nope, I can't, so I'm just going to turn the camera this way. Alright, what I have here is the binder, right? And now you can put all sorts of things in the binder. And I'm going to show you the kind of stuff that you can put in here. Alright? Get the camera right. This one has the reunification target date space on it. There we go. Alright. Yay, it's got a PALS card. Alright, so what you probably want to do is put it like a social worker card in here. Maybe I'll go like this so you can see better. There we go. Got some paper and some pens in here. You want to take notes, do that with your binder. The second page. Trying to see if they can. There we go. The second page has a directory of social services departments. It's really good to keep contact information of the department, the social workers, foster care licensing social worker, that sort of thing. You always want to keep your contact information, and the CFT binder is a really good place to kind of keep it. This is some CFT documentation that Department of Social Services puts out. It kind of helps a parent with general information like social worker name, facilitator name, what time the meeting's held, what kind of meeting it is, planning and preparation, that sort of thing. These are really good to print out and put in your binder. There's instructions for completing it. There's a couple pages. There's a folder for your case plan, which is really important to kind of keep, because your case plan is the family services agreement, which is like a contract, so it's subject to contract law, that you'll be doing with the Department of Social Services. The idea is to do these services to reduce the risk in your home so that your children can come home. It's not always how it turns out to be, but that's the goal. That's the initial goal. You might have old case plans depending on how long your children are, how long the Department of Social Services is involved in your family. So this is a thing that Parents Against Loss does. And I can share that link with you when I put the video up eventually. But it is, you can kind of see that there. It's an out-of-home family services agreement worksheet. It helps the parent keep a timeline of the things that are going on. It also creates, I'll show you the checklist part because it doesn't have writing on it. Right there. There we go. There's actually federally mandated things attached to a case plan. And if you don't attach those, then it's like losing rights, waiving rights, not working well with the Department of Social Services, because they're usually not going to tell you about all that stuff that needs to be added on for the best interest of the children. It's kind of a list. Okay. Alright. So then here, this folder has DSS policies and procedures for out-of-home family services agreements. And Title 42 is where you find a lot of your case plan requirements in North Carolina. Well, all over the U.S. for that particular title, but each state is going to have to abide by Title 42 requirements, case plans, requirements to really do their job. Not everybody's going to do it, but to really do your job, yeah. Okay. Here's a spot for family court orders. You get your copies from your attorney, or if you're pro se, of course, it's a good place to hold them all. Now here's where your assessments come in that I was talking about. This one is the family assessments of strengths and needs. This really tells you what are the strong points of your family in North Carolina, what are the points that we kind of need to work on as a family. These are required throughout the duration of the case life. Visitation contact plan. You can find all these forms online too. There's a reunification assessment. And these are handy to have, like, in case a social worker doesn't bring them up, but you'd like to be really thorough about your case and have things kind of go the way they're supposed to. You know, you can gently bring these up and say, hey, I learned about these. I kind of like to try them, or maybe see if they're going to be done or something like that. And then if you haven't done one and you have to sign when you do a form, then you know you haven't done it, kind of like a safety assessment, then CFT is a great time to bring that up. And there's notes. Article 1, state statute 131D-10.1 is a foster care children's bill of rights for North Carolina. Now they are supposed to have a certified copy of children's rights given to the children. CFT would be a great time to actually do that. But if they haven't, you can kind of ask the social worker, hey, you know, have my children been informed of their rights? This particular binder is created with a transitional living plan for youth. It'll be utilized for a family with somebody who's appropriate for this particular form. So there's 7 pages about that one. You can find that online too. See, this would be something that they would give the kids. They're talking about the health the health of the child. This is a child health status component. That's DSS form 5243. There's another one. Talks about immunizations. I mean, and things that make your family individual, or beliefs that you might have or something like that. You want to address those at CFT meetings. So, like, if you do not believe in certain immunizations, you want that to come out. If you don't believe in eating meat, or wearing red on Sundays, whatever it is that your core beliefs for your family are, you want to make sure that the social worker understands and knows those things, because those are things that are preserved for a child, or should be, when you're discussing placement, when you're discussing how the child should live from day to day. Maybe the child is allergic to red food dye 40, like my son is, and the foster parent needs to know that you probably don't want to feed my child Kool-Aid, red Kool-Aid, or bad things happen and projectile vomit comes out. But I'm sure you don't want to hear about that in the video. But you want to kind of protect your child from the people that really don't know your children, and you want them as comfortable as possible until they come home. So that would be the time to discuss those things. And I forgot to mention, your lawyer, if you're a court-appointed lawyer, should be at the CFT meeting, because the lawyer is the one who is supposed to be, I gotta say supposed to be the one to protect your rights. Supposed to be. So I can't say that enough. Supposed to be. So back to the binder. So we've got a little bit of health. We've got a little bit of education. You can find all sorts of things, like this is a parent's rights and responsibilities for special education. Another thing is that you want to consider is you want everything to be updated. So if you're getting policies and procedures from North Carolina DSS, you want them to be updated. Or you want them to be in the same year that your child was taken and updated, so that way you can compare what you are held to and what new things you might be able to utilize. Here's some North Carolina Administrative Code. This is about foster care placement. And this particular binder does a lot about ICPC. So there's ICPC DSS, North Carolina Code, or North Carolina Policies and Procedures. This particular folder has permanency planning policies in it, and this is the end of the binder. So you would set up your binder, you would take it into the CFT meeting, you would take your time and make sure that your needs are known, your children's needs are known, and that you get that reunification target date. That's really important to get. DSS usually does not grant you those, so you got to kind of press for them. And have patience and be encouraged. I really hope this video does help some of you with a little bit of organization in your case. I'm definitely going to encourage you to make sure that your original case file is certified copy every page. Get a copy of it from your local juvenile courts. You have right to access that file, so unless the judge says so. So make sure to do that, because it's going to be really important when you do things like CFT meetings, go into court hearings, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's what I said. Get it certified. Every single page, get it certified. If you're indigent, you can ask for the files for free. If you're not indigent, you will have to pay. But you can call your clerk of courts and find out the filing fees, or not the filing fees, the costs of the certification. So, and the copies. But that's all that I have. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment below. And keep your eye on putting your family back together, because that's really important. If you want to learn more about North Carolina and Department of Social Services, family court issues, what's going on in North Carolina as far as alleviating devastating family court issues, then please feel free to follow us on Facebook at Parents Against Loss. It would be like / Parents Against Loss, all one word. And I'll see you later.